Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is Patrick Liu, and I'm going to be your host for the Diabetes Survival Guide show. I'm the founder of the Diabetes Management Group, where I am a fitness and wellness coach for people with type 2 diabetes and prediabetes. And this show will be a way to share the phenomenal stories about people with all forms of diabetes, healthcare professionals who work with people with diabetes, health and wellness coaches who work with people in this population, and or caregivers and relatives with people with diabetes across the world. A little bit of a personal background for me as a show starter is I was diagnosed with prediabetes back in 2021 and made some modifications to my lifestyle and habits to successfully reverse it in 2022. However, that onset of me receiving prediabetes in 2021 triggered my memories of when my grandpa, who passed away when I was a sophomore in high school from kidney failure secondary to his type 2 diabetes, about the care that was misunderstood and not the greatest at that time. So I want to provide this show as a way to explore the different spectrums of diabetes and healthcare professionals sharing their tips of what they've seen helpful in working with folks with them, and then some things that weren't as helpful so that y'all can learn something. So thank you so much, and we'll get started with the disclaimers and the show.
Disclaimers. This show is not medical advice or a treatment plan and may contain sensitive and explicit content. It is intended for general education and demonstration purposes only. This content should not be used to self-diagnose or self-treat any health, medical, or physical conditions. Don't use this show to avoid going to your own healthcare professional or to replace the advice they give you. Consult with your healthcare provider before attempting anything you learned in this show. You agreed to identify and hold harmless the creators of this material for any and all losses, injury, or damages resulting from any and all claims that arise from your use or misuse of this show material. The creators and guests of this show make no representations about the accuracy or suitability of this content. Use these materials at your sole risk. Views and opinions are individual to the creators and guests of this show and do not represent any other opinions or entities and are not intended to offend anybody. We hope you enjoyed the show. How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Diabetes Survival Guide show. Today, I'm joined by an amazing guest, Christina. So Christina has been a huge and powerful advocate for mental health. And not only has she been super active on social media by sharing some awesome tips of how someone can improve their emotional intelligence so that they can better understand, oh, when is it time for me to get some help and support? But to really understand what's it like to be an individual? What is it like to actually take care of ourselves? Because I feel like with how social media and society is bringing in with the stigma of, oh, you really need to have this workaholic culture, or whenever someone deviates from the norm, then they get ridiculed and shamed upon. That's not okay. And Christina's doing a good job of tackling those issues and letting people know, hey, here's how we can create a safe space for yourself. Here's how to take some time to really work on yourself so that you can be more present for yourself and for those of you that are around each other. Because we all know whenever you go to those airplanes, make sure that you put your oxygen mask over yourself first before taking care of other people. Make sure that you fill up your own cup before you can start pouring into other people's cups. Because if you don't have anything in your own cup, there's nothing left to pour. So, with that being said, Christina, please share a little bit about yourself or the things I haven't already talked about and what got you interested in becoming a mental health coach.
Sure. Awesome. Thank you so much for that introduction. And what a great sentiment. That's so true that we need to be putting our own oxygen masks on first before we help other people. I know that I need that reminder every once in a while too. But yeah, no, I became a mental health coach. God, I've been a mental health professional for a while now. I also have a therapy practice. I'm licensed as a mental health therapist in Florida and New Jersey. So I see clients at my St. Pete office in Florida and also online. So I do a lot of mental health coaching with clients online as well. I got into it through actually playing sports growing up. I was always fascinated by performance psychology, and I originally wanted to go into the field of sports psychology. Somehow I got rerouted along the way and ended up getting into therapy and opened up my own practice back in 2018. And I work with a broad range of clients, but I'm starting to move towards focusing more working with men's mental health because I've seen such a need with it within my practice. And yeah, so I help a lot of men that are feeling defeated or disconnected start to overcome mental barriers that they're experiencing and also develop emotional intelligence so they can have a better quality of life and better relationships and also operate better in their business as well. I focus on working with a lot of entrepreneurs too. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
sharing that. And I really love how it went from, oh, it'd be interesting if I got into performance and sports psychology, to then
Uh-huh.
working more towards, all right, let's broaden the horizon, but also narrowing down on the areas in the society where it's not talked about as much, especially with men's mental
Totally.
health. And especially for those
Yeah.
who are high performing individuals who
Mhm.
don't quite understand what it means to really take care of themselves because they have
Yep.
to try and serve and work with other people.
Yeah.
Awesome.
No, for sure.
So, my question with that, for those who are unfamiliar with the term emotional intelligence, how
Mm.
what would be a good analogy to describe that?
So I define emotional intelligence as understanding our own emotions and also understanding the emotions of others and how they experience their own feelings. And the only way that we can do that, like the analogy that you said earlier, is putting on our own mask first, right? If we don't understand our own emotions, we're going to have a really hard time understanding what other people are experiencing or being able to show up and really connect with people in that way. So, understanding our own emotions first is so important in being able to connect and understand other people as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing
Yeah.
that. Just making
Yep.
sure that we can figure out what we can do to fill up our own cups.
Exactly. Exactly. And that just requires us slowing down. And I think a lot of us are on autopilot, right? We're like sleepwalking through life and not really experiencing it. And as a result, I think we feel really disconnected from ourselves and other people. So, really figuring out the tools and developing that emotional intelligence through therapy, through your own self help work, can be super crucial in just being able to experience and enjoy life in a different way.
Awesome. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
sharing. Now,
Hmm.
I'm sure our audience is wondering, what does a typical session looks like with Christina? Would you mind
Mm,
setting the
yeah,
scene?
for sure. 50 minutes is usually how long I meet with clients. I meet with clients once a week or once every other week. And then as they start to progress, we taper off. But in session, a lot of my focus is on finding solutions for people. And the way that I do that is by asking questions so that the people that I'm working with can find the answer themselves. I never really give advice or push people in one direction or the other, but I know the right questions to ask so that you can dig a little bit deeper and gain more insight and perspective into whatever it is that you want to figure out a solution for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Essentially, it's trying to figure out what we already know and then introducing
Hmm.
ideas to the step that we may not have considered yet because we didn't
Yep.
take that time to really learn how to slow down and reflect
Yep.
on those questions.
One of the hardest questions that people struggle with as far as in session with me is when I ask the question, what are you needing right now? Because we've been so in tune with what everyone else wants and needs
Hmm.
that we neglect to ask ourselves that question. So I think that that's probably the number one thing that people struggle with as far as helping themselves is they don't even really know what they want or need.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah,
Feels like we're in a pinball machine being pushed left and right and trying to figure out,
totally.
oh, I know this person wants this, so let's get them this, rather than taking a step back and
Yeah.
really understanding, oh, what is it that I really want from this situation or this
Hmm.
opportunity? And then
Right.
really honing in on the details and aspects of it. Because for myself, I currently seek a therapist, really doing a good job of understanding what my mindset is and organize
Mm,
them in a way that I can improve my own mindset so that I can
mm,
then utilize some of those teachings to then serve the other people that I would work with. And
totally.
it tends to be difficult at times having that slow down moment for the people that I work with because whenever I ask them, "Oh, so what is it that you're wanting?" And they're like, "I don't necessarily want that because I know my wife is going to not support that decision." Or, "Oh, I know I
Mm,
can't do that because I have kids that I need to take care of, and me doing this would prevent me from spending time with them." And then the other factors of, oh, needing to take care of this person, needing to take care of this other person. And there's not a whole lot of, what if you did have the opportunities to balance what you want and what other
mm.
people are wanting from you? And let's fit that into the box, because it seems like puzzle pieces are everywhere and we're not sure where to start. When in reality, it's like, what if we were to know how to start and fit them all in together in a way that can be done? Because it could be something as quick as 5 minutes to
Mhm.
do something that's actionable rather than thinking, oh, well, I have to drop everything that I'm currently doing to embark on a new journey.
Wow. Yeah, that's a great way to put it, Patrick. That is a really great way to put it. It sounds like you've been doing some work on yourself too.
Oh yeah, always. And I
Yeah.
feel like some of the things that is not talked about as much is the cultural talks of it.
Mm,
Coming from an Asian American background, all the people that I've interacted with who also came from this background that were more, let's say, first generational, or they immigrated here from there, it's
mm,
very, guys shouldn't talk about their emotions because they have to stay strong, and it's more of a, you're representing the family and there's not as much of
yeah.
a separation from the family and the individual. So then it's trying to figure out,
Mm,
how can I still appease the tradition while also understanding how I can support myself without going crazy. And I'm sure other people are probably feeling the
wow.
same way
Yeah.
too.
Yes, for sure. I think our identity is tied up a lot in our accomplishment. And I think coming from your cultural background, it sounds like your family. That's difficult to start to pull apart and separate and really start to figure out like who am I and what do I want and need separate from other people, separate from my work. So yeah, that's tough work, but it needs to be done.
Oh, most definitely. And
Yeah.
then pivoting now, I wanted to learn, what has been the hardest moment that you've had since starting your practice, and what did you learn from that experience?
Wow. That's a good question. I feel like probably the hardest moment are a bunch of different moments that I have to experience when clients call and I can't serve them or I don't have the time to be able to take them on as clients and just having to like see the disappointment or hear the disappointment. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing now is I think it made me realize that I could have such an impact on so many more people if I served one to many. I think I do a really great job one to one, but I only have so much time.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh, so yeah, I think just figuring out a solution to be able to help more people, although that was like a really difficult thing to, and it still is, to turn people away or have to refer them out, is it's helped me realize, all right, how can I serve more people and maybe do something a little bit different while also continuing to see clients one on one. But yeah, without that, I wouldn't have had the push to maybe create something for a one to many solution for people.
Hmm. Very
Yeah.
awesome. So that means you can see
Yeah.
more people in the time that they have. And the benefit, of course, with working with a group of people is we have some accountability partners in there too.
Totally. Totally. Yeah. And you do groups as well. You are familiar with that.
Yeah, working on that. We're getting more
Yeah.
clients in, and with this webinar that we'll do in the future, I think by the time this is published, it will have already happened, or it's right before it happens. So we'll work on
Yeah.
getting some clients working in for their group setting, because it's
Yeah.
going to be awesome.
Yeah. Yes. Love it. Love it. Love it.
Awesome. And then the other question that I had was, for someone who struggled with eating disorders,
Mm,
what has been your experience for common triggers that they identified from themselves, and how do would they address it? Because I know for some of the people with type 2 diabetes or prediabetes,
mm,
sometimes it's not actually the type 2 diabetes or prediabetes, it's actually the eating disorders that is leading to developing type 2 diabetes and prediabetes. So it's more of a mental health
mm.
root cause rather than a
Right.
physical manifestation of the root cause.
Yeah. I don't specifically work with eating disorders, but I do work with a lot of people that are disconnected from their bodies.
Hmm.
And I think that a lot of times when we have mental health issues that affect our ability to be connected to our bodies, it can cause a multitude of issues, right? And then when they come into the office, it's they're so disconnected from themselves that they don't even know what they're feeling or why they're eating, emotionally eating, or have disordered eating. And it's helpful to start to help those people reconnect with their body again in a healthy way so that they can start to identify what triggers there are, right? Oh, maybe when I'm feeling anxious, I go to reach for this thing. Or maybe when I'm feeling frustrated or sad or whatever feeling it is, my initial reaction is to go pick up this food or do that kind of behavior. And starting to pull back and reframe it a little bit and get them to be in touch with, okay, when I'm feeling this way, I can actually calm myself through breathing or going for a walk or doing some type of journaling and really identifying what is going on for me right now rather than the behavior. Like, so it's just a different cue to be able to change or reroute or rewire that way of thinking. So yeah, I think getting people connected to their bodies again is hugely important so that because really in a weird way, our bodies are failing us, right? When we have disordered eating or we have anxiety or any kind of like physical ailment, right? We lose trust with our body. So we need to figure out a way to build back that trust again. And I think that's mostly what people get out of working with me as a mental health coach or a therapist is you can target some of those things and learn different ways to connect with our body again.
Mm. Music to my ears of understanding how can we connect everything back together. I'm sure people have been feeling
Mm-hmm.
it and now they've heard it and now they may be even visualizing themselves going through that process. And
Mm,
it's such a powerful journey of just being able to take a step back and taking a deep breath and figuring out, okay, how can I reconnect with myself and how can I be
yeah.
present in this moment to then calm myself down for any of the crazy moments that are happening in life instead of
Mm,
reaching for a bag of chips or instantly ordering some food and everything because that's the most common stressor for some folks.
mm,
However, if they're able to build their toolkit of different ways that they can manage their emotions and their
mm,
situations with other alternatives. So instead of it's just okay, my immediate response is this and it's only this to no, we have other options that we can utilize. And
for
other
sure.
ways can be more helpful at times too.
Mm, yep.
Hmm.
Yep. Agreed. Completely agree. I think we don't know what we don't know. If you've
Hmm.
never coped any other way, then you need someone that's going to help and coach you through that.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
So one of the talks that I am seeing on social media, it's body dysmorphia. And I know for some
Mm,
folks, they aren't quite sure what body dysmorphia is or how to handle it. Would you mind
mm.
explaining a little bit more of what disorder or what body dysmorphia is and some common management techniques that someone can utilize today?
Yeah, for sure. The way that I understand body dysmorphia is you're looking in the mirror or you don't feel comfortable in your body, right? Or what you're perceiving in the mirror is something completely different than what is reality or what you actually look like. And I think a lot of us struggle with this. I know I've struggled with it before in the past as well. And it's just being able to, like I said earlier, connect with your body so that not that you'll see it differently, but you'll feel it differently, right? You'll feel different in your body. Because I think for the most part, we feel really disconnected from our bodies when we are experiencing body dysmorphia, right? So we have to do things to get back into our body, whether that's grounding, meditation, being able to maybe like even just like physically touch ourselves and understand that whatever we're seeing isn't real. So yeah, I think anchoring ourselves in more of what reality is and what's healthy for us, and that's going to be a gradual progression. It's not going to happen right away. But someone with body dysmorphia, it's getting them to anchor themselves back in what's true and what is reality and not being so pulled into whether that's what they're seeing in the mirror or what they're feeling in that moment and starting to, like I said even earlier, just reconnecting with our body in a different way.
Hmm. Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Being able to have that reset and being able to
Hmm.
understand that what I look like in the mirror, how can we get it to the point where we can have appreciation for that person that we see across that mirror? And then figuring
Hmm.
out that, hey, what can I do to treat the person that I see in this mirror better? Because that person is
Mm,
me. How can we keep on reconnecting with each other rather than always pointing out the insecurities and flaws, to then it's, oh, that's something that I'm working on. I can definitely improve upon this doing
Mm,
these exercises or practicing this dietary habit that I am
mm,
working towards, or even just doing some self care. Because I think even by doing stress relieving techniques, some people have seen benefits in actually losing their weight at times because now their body is
mm.
in more of a relaxed state. It's not always on a fight or flight response. So less of that
I love
cortisol,
that.
less of that inflammation,
Mm.
to then more of a, okay, now the body's kind of calming down. It can metabolize things appropriately, and then they can visually feel it, see it, and hear it when they look in the mirror and they're talking to themselves.
Yeah, no, that you make such a good point, and it just made me think of. I think a lot of times we're so when we have body dysmorphia, we're so worried about the outside, right? What we look
Mm-hmm.
like on the outside, but it's also what's going on internally that's causing the problem as well. Like we may not just feel good about ourselves, we may not be confident. It may not just be that we don't feel like we look good on the outside, or we are disconnected from what we really look like. It's more of, hey, what's going on internally for me as well that's causing me to see myself this way? And how can we navigate that? And you made a good point. Like self care is great because it helps our nervous system. But I think we also get self care mixed up with self love. And they're
Mm-hmm.
two separate components. Self care is physically caring for yourself, right? And I think that a lot of times we think that self care is self love, but self love is something completely different. Self love is being radically honest with yourself, creating better habits internally, and then like unconditional self acceptance. And that has nothing to do with the physical, that has all to do with the internal. So I think that self love component, along with the body dysmorphia, is so important because it helps us change our internal narrative.
Mm-hmm. Ah, I love it.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to this podcast. And before we continue with the rest of this show, I wanted to let y'all know, please feel free to give this podcast a 5-star rating if you like it, share it with other folks that you think it'd be beneficial for. And if you haven't already, feel free to subscribe and follow to the Diabetes Management Group for awesome tips to manage your type 2 diabetes or prediabetes. And let's get back to the show.
Yeah.
And then, if we're going to be now with body dysmorphia is one of the heated topics that is talked about. I know another one is being
Mm,
talked about more. However, people haven't put as much of a name to it. Orthorexia.
mm,
For some people, I know with type 2 diabetes and prediabetes, there's this huge push of, oh, one would need to try this certain diet, or, oh, eating
mm,
this is super bad for you. It's not a good thing for you. And it's this whole hectic mess of trying to figure out what exactly is good for me, what's bad for me. I don't know what's
mm.
out there. And then having that obsession with the good, how would you deconstruct what orthorexia is for folks
Oof.
who don't quite understand it?
Yeah, how to help or cope with it? Is that
Yeah.
what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's along the same lines, right? I think we when we're experiencing something like orthorexia, it's like an obsession or almost like more of a, yeah, like an obsession of something. And I think when we obsess about something, we're not really connecting with like how we're feeling about it, right? We're like latching on to information that's external and not thinking about, how do I feel right now? Do I feel like this is good for me? Or is this just something I've been told that is good for me? And I'm having a reaction in my body because that's what I believe about what I'm eating. Instead of being able to assess ourselves, we all are different. Not we all don't operate the same. We all don't digest and metabolize things the same. I think the same thing as I said before, like connecting with our bodies and knowing, okay, when I eat this thing, I don't feel as good as I maybe am being told I should feel. Like that actually really affects my gut. And our gut is our second brain. And like I maybe shouldn't be latching onto this thing as like the end all be all to help me with my diabetes or my better eating. So yeah, I think it's connecting with ourselves and knowing, hey, like that might work for somebody else, but maybe it's not for me. Maybe I operate differently and maybe I need to talk to somebody else about this if I feel like this isn't working for me. So yeah, I think there's so much information out there, you know this. And I think we latch on to all of these ideas and things as like the end all be all. and we don't actually listen to like how our bodies are responding to whatever it is we're putting in them. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So essentially,
Yeah.
for the audience members who's, oh my gosh, Christina just spitted some fire out here. Amazing content, amazing bits of information.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but from my understanding, it's basically being able to identify, hey, I am an individual person. And sure, there's a lot of things that's going on social media. I'm not quite sure what's going on here. And I'm really frustrated, stressed. This person said this thing, this
Mhm.
person said this other thing, to then taking a step back and then understanding, wait a minute, hold on. My body's a bit different compared to other people. We have different genes. We have a different processes of how we're able to digest foods and metabolize it appropriately. And then
Mm.
let's experiment. Let's try this one food. Let's see how it feels. Like if it doesn't feel great, maybe I have some sort of sensitivity for what that food contains. And even
Right.
though it's proclaimed as really good for my diabetes or really good for something else for some other part of the body, but it just doesn't really do it, that's completely okay because there might
Right.
be an alternative that's out there. And then that's at
Mhm.
that point where it's understanding the tree of, yeah, sure, whatever is labeled as quote unquote good, that's not a best statement for every single person. Instead, it's, oh, it's
Yep.
generally good, but now let's try and figure out if it's individualized really good for you as a person.
Right.
Mhm.
Yep. You got it correct. And I think a perfect example of that is also with our physical health, right? Some exercise regimens work for some people and don't work for others. Like we have this completely different genetic makeup, and we're trying to like do a one size fits all, and it's just never going to work.
Mhm. Yeah, it's trying to figure out the one size fits all option too. It always frustrates me whenever I see people promoting things as, oh, this is the one propaganda. You have to
Mm,
do these three things in order to completely reverse your diabetes, and it's going to help you lose weight, and it's going to help with X, Y, and Z things. That they make it seem like it's this magical cure and package. When in reality, it's
right.
like, what if it's just components of it that help somebody? But if it's not like a good match for it, that's not a good thing. It's, for example, whenever someone sees someone who's really attractive and they think, oh, that person's really attractive. I'm going to go talk with them and we're going to have an awesome relationship with each other. Then find out
Mm,
that person's attractive, but the personalities just aren't compatible. That could be the same thing too for that fad diet or those
yeah.
secret supplements that people are trying to promote for trying to manage the
Hmm.
diabetes. And then when they try it, so that didn't work out for me. Like I was only consistent for maybe 2 weeks and then I was done. I
Mm,
could not keep up with it. And it's trying to figure out that's okay. That just means it's not the good fit for you. Let's find something else because there are so many other things that's out there that we can
mm,
utilize to improve our health. And there's more than just these three tools. Instead, it's like a
totally.
combination of we can make other tools work to make this new tool for you to improve your health and mental
Yeah.
health and the other
Yep.
aspect that goes into lifestyle.
Mm, yeah. Such a good point. Such a good point.
All right. And then the other question that I had for you, it's for people who have type 2 diabetes or prediabetes and people are labeling them as lazy or other people are
Mm,
labeling them as, oh, you just have bad genetics that you can't change anything. So putting them in this narrow box that's causing them to have symptoms of anxiety or depression or really questioning themselves if they're able to improve their health at all. What
mm.
things would you what would you tell those folks who are in those situations?
What people are saying about you is more about them than it is about you.
Ooh, oh, powerful.
So if people are labeling you one thing, it's probably an insecurity that they have within themselves. And also probably misinformed, right? Like we know that people with diabetes, it does not mean that they're lazy. But if you haven't educated yourself on what it actually is, then you're making an assumption that is completely incorrect. What I would say to those people is anchoring yourself in what to be true about your experience of having diabetes and what that process has been like for you, and being able to take what people say and maybe spin it a little bit like, hey, do you actually know what diabetes is like, what that process is like? Or I think putting it back on them, because like I said, it's more about the person that's saying that rather than like about you. Anchoring yourself in what is true, and yeah, I think there's probably a lot of shame. I think you even mentioned that before we hopped on the call that people experience because people are labeling them one way or there is this like judgment. And like I said, I think it's just accepting that it's more about the person that's saying that versus about you and your experience of having diabetes or being pre-diabetic.
hmm It's like everyone has an opinion that they
Mhm.
want to share to make you the ideal version that fits into their story, not the
Yep,
other way around. So why not focus on
so
us
true.
so that we could build our own story that
Mm,
we're wanting to be ourselves?
right. Oh my gosh, I love that. Love it.
Okay, so a few more questions and we'll be good with this episode. So, if you were to share one piece of advice to someone who may not know that they're struggling,
Mm.
what would it be?
So I have so many things, but the one thing that I can think of right now, just even with your audience, is you don't have to be, what is it? Okay. So, in as far as like people seeking out help, you don't, just because you're not like down and out, doesn't mean that you're up. And what that means to me is you don't have to be in your worst spot to be able to ask for help. I actually love the people that reach out to me as more of the preventative thing. Hey, I know that I have some struggles, but I'm not like in this like worst possible place. Can you help me? And I think most people are not like that. Most people wait till they hit rock bottom to be able to ask for help or get support, right? And what I've seen is like it takes so much longer for you to get back up when you are at rock bottom. And why not start when you're in the middle, right? Like you're happy and content and like you have some of these challenges, but you don't think that they're like completely detrimental. Reach out then. But yeah, I just think that people that get help earlier, even though they're not like completely hitting rock bottom, end up having the most like transformative experiences because they're not trying to handle rock bottom and get back up at the same time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very similar to some stories that I've heard where it's exactly that case. Someone with prediabetes, they may say, "Oh, at least I don't have type 2 diabetes." And then when that
Mm-hmm.
prediabetes becomes type 2 diabetes, it then becomes, well, at least it's not a higher A1C score or like a higher thing. And then that conversation then becomes to, oh, some accident does occur. And it's like all it takes is that one accident. It could happen at any moment, whether it's in prediabetes range or type 2 diabetes range, or even when it's reversed. For some folks, it's, oh, I reversed my type 2 diabetes or prediabetes. I'm not going to get it again. But then the
Mm,
sad part is it comes back again because that's not how our body works. It's not a,
yep.
oh, it's gone forever. It's gone for good. No, that's
Mm-hmm.
just a picture. Our body is a moving video. And if
Mm,
we're not paying attention to this moving motion film, a story of ourselves, all it takes is just one small slip that it can then end the entire thing, which is very unfortunate. And I know all of us are doing the best of what we can and that we're all safe and well. But instead of putting it off till tomorrow or saying, oh, it could be worse, to saying, what if I deserve help right now? What if I deserve all those things that can get
mm,
me out of this situation and I can maintain these awesome habits? Because after all, not only are we watching our own stories and videos, our kids are watching us. Other people are watching us who view us as this role model. And
mm.
if we decide to delay things, what does that say for the people who are watching us as points of inspiration? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And then the other thing that gets me is when someone says, oh, I'm a strong, independent person. I don't need no help. And I'm just thinking to myself, okay, what does that do for oneself? Like, are you
Yeah.
trying to prove that to like yourself or are you trying to prove that for other people? Because to me,
Mm,
it seems like it's trying to impress other people to do, oh, I could
mm,
do all these amazing, crazy things. However, if we take a step back, it's like, how much of that is running your cup out just to try and have a perception of, oh, I'm this omnipotent person and nothing can harm me. Well,
mm.
it's that facade until that one thing does happen and then everything just comes crumbling down, which is not a great point. And I know all of us are safe and well and we're working towards doing the best of what we can, but it's like, come on, it's okay to
Yeah.
ask for that. It's not, the status isn't changing. We're our own people.
Mm,
So asking
yeah.
for help, reaching out so that we can have that mental capacity and that physical capacity and other capacities to then invest into other things throughout the rest of the day. That's okay.
Yeah. And you make a good point. I think those people that are presenting that way, they probably don't have a lot of like healthy relationships, right? Because if you're not accepting some of your vulnerable parts and you're not expressing that you have struggle too, a lot of people can't connect with you.
Yeah.
You're like being like human is part of connection, right? And when we say we're this strong independent person and we don't need anyone, we're really shutting off our ability to have community and connection and healthy relationships.
hmm
Yeah.
This community, in my opinion, is the best form of strength because
Oh,
if
I
it
agree.
involves if it involves pushing a boulder up a hill, one
Mm,
person ain't gonna do it. It's gonna take an entire
right.
community to get that stuck sucker up the hill.
Yeah, so true, so
Mhm.
true. And I think men, for just specifically, really need that because they come off that way a lot.
Mm.
That like strong, independent. I don't talk about my feelings. I'm not gonna go sit in an office and tell you about how I feel. But they like have no idea that you come in here and we're not really talking about your feelings in that way. I'm not asking you how you feel. I'm getting you to answer questions that are getting you to dig a little bit deeper and understand yourself better.
Ah, most
Yep.
definitely.
Yep.
Okay, so the next thing I wanted to ask is, what is your zombie apocalypse survival plan?
Oh, wow. I like this question. I love the Hunger Games. I'm going 100% Hunger Games. I'm
Yeah.
getting my bow and arrow out. I'm going ham. Yeah, that would be my zombie apocalypse plan. I'm not gonna just sit back and hide in my house or anything like that. My dog and I are going out and we're taking the bow and arrow and going for it.
Katniss
Have you got
Everdeen
that
style.
answer yet? Have you got that answer yet?
Yeah. No, this is the first time for someone picking up a bow and arrow. Other folks have talked about, oh, I'm going to build a fortress to secure myself. Other
Hmm.
folks have talked about, I'm going to put treadmills that run the other direction. So whenever the zombies try to go on there, they just are pushed the other way.
Oh, I like that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
We've had some creative responses for some of our past guests.
I love that question.
All right, Christina, it has been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. I know our audience, they're like, oh my gosh, Christina is so amazing. I really felt her message. We heard her loud and clear of what we can do today to help ourselves out. And they have that vision of taking care of themselves even more. So, how can they connect with you?
Yeah, like you said early on, which was so kind. I'm trying to be a little bit more diligent about my social media presence. Yeah, you can find me on Instagram. My handle is Christina, my first name with a CH, and then .lmhc, and that's licensed mental health therapist, licensed mental health counselor. If you want to follow me on Instagram, all of my links and everything are on there. I also have a website. It's just Christina-Rogers Counsel, Christina-Rogers.com. And you can go on there and shoot me a message as well. It just depends on your preference. But those are the two probably best ways to find me. And I'm sure you'll put them in the show notes
Oh, it'll be in
on YouTube
there.
with some links. But yeah, that's probably the best way to get in touch with me. And if you have any questions or if you're looking for a therapist like in your area, I'm pretty like networked. I have a couple of online groups that I'm a part of, and I can always point you in the right direction if I can't be the right fit for you.
hmm Thank you so much, Christina. And get
Yeah.
connecting with her. She shares some awesome tips on social media too. And of course, everyone, do one small tip today that can improve your health, whether that is physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, just one small action today. It doesn't have to be too much, okay? And then we'll see y'all next time for the next episode.